We'll call the March 12, 2024 council meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Mr. Reynolds?
Here.
Ms. Mapp?
Here.
Mr. Chambers?
Here.
Ms. Walden?
Here.
Ms. Shinholster?
Here.
Dr. Lee?
Here. Okay, we have a quorum present, so we can continue with the meeting. Please stand and join me in a prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Let us bow our heads. Father, as we go into this meeting, we place ourselves before you. Help us to value and appreciate each other. We ask for your wisdom and support as we engage in discussions. Help us to grow closer as we bond and nurture our community. These and more things we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. We'll move on to public comments. We have two that have signed up to speak. The first person is Brooke Snyder.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brooke Snyder. I live at 329 South Wilkinson Street, but also own a building at 131 West Franklin. As you know, there was a water leak or pipe burst or something on that road. The city workers were there working diligently. I spoke with them several times about what was going on. They said they couldn't find it because of the rain, because water hides well in water. They worked from what I saw, almost sun up to sundown several days. The parking lot at the building that I own, the water was bubbling up and sediment was coming out, and I asked them, was that a problem? And they said, no, not to worry about it. So over the whole weekend, everything was fine. Last time I went into the building was 9:30 a.m. Sunday morning. I then re-entered the building at 5:15 Monday afternoon. It was flooded. Whatever happened in the water line, whatever they had to do, flushed back through the sewage line and came up not in my toilet, but from the pipe to my toilet. So I spent from 5:30 to 7:30 mopping. I counted as I went. I used 50 mop buckets because I don't like fecal matter. Now I have to replace and had to pull up the carpet. The carpet's not attached to the floor, it just rests on the floor. So that's going to cost me anywhere from $300 to $500. I Cloroxed the floor, but I'm going to have to do it again. We all know that there's a systemic deterioration of the water system and sewage system in Milledgeville. I know you'll have some things in the works, but I think the long-term view should be shortened, to be honest with you. I called the people around me. This did not happen to their two rental houses. I don't know if it happened to the Weaver brothers, but it didn't happen to the two houses beside the building, which is lucky. And it might have been our building because we're kind of in a low area and the angle of the pipe might be different or something. But I just wanted y'all to feel my pain in having to mop doo-doo. Not physically seeing it, but I've got pictures if you want to see the stinky mop buckets that took me over 2 hours to mop. We use this building 4 days a week. It's a private martial arts club, not really open to the public. You can come look and maybe join, but we don't really advertise or anything. So it compromised our class that night, made me tired and more upset about the problems with the water and sewage. Thank you very much. The workers were great. They
explained a lot to me. And so kudos. They were both a good guy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Franklin Street.
The next person we have scheduled is Mr. Terry McDade.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Terry McDade. I am here to voice some concerns about some adjacent property to my house. I live on Tomlinson Road, which is off of Heritage, across from Walmart. I'm at the very end, down by the creek. I have 5.5 acres and my home. Behind me was 15 acres of pine trees. And a couple of years ago, with no knowledge of what was going on, they came in and cut all the pine trees down. Then they started excavating and moving red mud up the hill. And then they started building apartments, 2- and 3-story apartments. Everything, during the process, it was not bothersome, but it concerned me that it went the whole length of my back line and the whole length of my neighbor's back line and part of his neighbor's back line, but all the way down on my property. And I put up with it and I put up with it. I did go see the guy who was building. He was the one that told me what it was going to be, that they were going to be apartments. The location is off of North Jefferson, just beyond Vaughn's Chapel. And if you turn, before you get to the bridge, there's a residential area there. If you go all the way back, you'll come up on it. And there's 2 buildings that sit on land that's been built up. My house is at the low level. Put up with all of that. They put up lights in their parking lot. Their lights shine directly into my house. There's not a room on the backside of my house that I can go to, which includes my kitchen, my breakfast room, my den, my fireplace, my master bedroom, my master bathroom. The lights come in from sundown to sunup. I went there, and there was a secretary there, and she said that she would come by and take pictures and present them to the guys that own it. And she did, or I expect she probably did if she did what she said she was going to do. But I went back a couple of weeks later and I asked her, and she told me she had sent them the pictures, and they told her that there was nothing that he had to do and that there was nothing he was gonna do. I have planted 30 Leland cypress along the back of my line to hopefully one day block all that light and the site. The apartments look nice. They are special needs apartments for elderly. You have to be 55 to live there. You can't have children and live there. I expect that I won't ever see these Leland cypress get up high enough to block the lights. As I said, they're up high, I'm down low, and they shine right into the back of my house. I can't sit in my den with my fireplace and TV without those lights coming in the French doors and through the glass in the windows in the breakfast room. It's very annoying. I have put up some blinds to block them through the door, but they're still coming in through my breakfast room.
Mr. McDade, it's time, your time.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
And thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Would, Terry, I'm your representative, so if you'll come speak to me after the meeting, I'd appreciate it.
Glad to come up here.
Okay.
Okay, those are the only 2 that have signed up for public comments, and we thank you both for taking the time out to let us know what your situations are in your area. And the city manager is listening, and we'll move from there. Thank you. You all have received a copy of the February 27th council meeting minutes. Are there any corrections to be made? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to adopt the minutes.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and second. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Mr. Reynolds?
Aye.
Miss Mapp?
Aye.
Mr. Chambers?
Aye.
Miss Walden?
Aye.
Miss Shinholster?
Aye.
Dr. Lee?
Aye.
The motion carries and the minutes are adopted. I don't have any comments. I don't know if the mayor sent any comments by you or anyone else, so we'll move on with the agenda. We have a presentation from Jeff Wells with Keep Milledgeville and Baldwin Beautiful tonight, and I invite them to the podium for their presentation.
Please pay now.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
He's the. Thank
Thank you.
ma'am. Thank you.
So as we begin, we'd first of all like to say congratulations to Councilwoman Shinholster for being elected Mayor Pro Tem of Milledgeville. Congratulations. Thank you to the City Council members, Mr. Griffith, Mr. Denuser, for helping us get on the schedule here this evening. I'm Dr. Jeff Wells. Please just call me Jeff. I'm here today to speak to you on behalf of the Keep Milledgeville Baldwin Beautiful organization. I serve as the chair of the KMBB Board of Directors. Additionally, I want to thank all of you for your time and effort in leading the city and recognizing that litter and blight is a problem in this community. As many of you know, COVID-19 took its toll on many things in our nation, state, and community. KMBB was one of those, as the board of directors of the organization and subsequently much of the work on the KMBB board fell dormant. Unfortunately, what did not fall dormant was litter and trash gathered along the roads and highways of Milledgeville and Baldwin County. It has become an issue noticed by quite a few citizens, and we're very grateful for organizations in our community, including the Union Recorder, the Baldwin County Commission, various civic groups, and businesses who have all joined with us in this last year and helped us move this effort forward as one way the citizenry can do its part in combating litter in our beautiful city and county. Litter and blight have many second and third order effects on the community. Not only is it against the law, but it does often deter businesses and citizens from wanting to locate or relocate here. In addition, it also contributes to what can be called a general malaise amongst the citizenry. If we've heard it once, we've heard it a million times when people say, if no one else cares, why should I? Scholars in environmental science, criminal justice, and I know Mr. Griffith will like this, public admin, right? Happen to tell us that litter actually sends a signal to criminals and residents that the community and the citizens don't care about what happens in their neighborhood or community and makes the areas that they find litter more vulnerable. We also know that littered places attract more litter and people feel safer in a cleaner neighborhood versus one that is littered. It is something that impacts us all in all council districts, in all parts of Milledgeville, in all sectors of the community, civic, business, spiritual, and social. And this is where KMBB would like to help and has been for some time now. What we have put in front of you there is a couple of handouts that I would like to talk about a little bit later in the presentation. We chose to show you in the first handout the first year that KMBB was part of this community. I believe that was back in 2014, if I'm not mistaken, Laura. In that year, in fact, over $50,000 worth of labor was produced. We also had volunteers working with KMBB in the community that produced that labor. We had 50 community and business partners, 40 miles of roadway that were cleaned up, and 120 tires removed from the Oconee River. I think that's gone up recently, from what Carlos tells us. Our focus is helping the community realize the impact of litter and waste, promote recycling as an alternative to trash, and the collaborative work effort of the community in creating beautiful, caring communities in which to live. Spin forward a few years as we have now revitalized the organization. We have established a board of directors, revised our bylaws, and are working on finalizing a 3-year strategic plan and established the crown jewel of our organization, our Adopt a Road program. I believe you have that paper in front of you, which is, again, the second document of the handout. Currently, we have about 5 to 7 partners, including Reagan K. Realtors, the Milledgeville Rotary Club, Central State Hospital, a group from Coopers, and a local ministry. We just received word that Mr. Anthony Fields and his family will be sponsoring a road in the county as well. Details are being finalized on all of those but Reagan K. right now as she's ready to go. These partners have adopted roads in the county, and through the generosity of the Baldwin County Commissioners, signs with removable tabs for the partners have been purchased. We've also reached an agreement where the Baldwin County Fire Department will provide bags, grabbers, you've seen them, they're the metal things, vest, and also safety signs so that we can protect the volunteers who are out on the road. And at special events as well, they are being provided by the county's nearest fire station to where the cleanup is happening. We've also spoken at Rotary, Kiwanis, Exchange, and the Commission meetings, sharing this information and spreading the news about the program. I've just received 3 additional invitations today while I was reviewing the material for this address. We've been invited to attend several other organizations' meetings as they're now interested in what we're doing. Just today, Jamie Schneider over at Zimmer & Schwartz said that an employee of his had approached him about partnering with us, as in his words, momentum is growing and word is really getting out about KMBB and its efforts. So that's very pleasing to all of us on the board. In addition to reestablishing our board, we have reached out to GCSU, GMC, CGTC, and our local public schools with Baldwin County Public School System to help share our mission and educate the good people of Baldwin County, starting with our young people, on ways to win the battle against litter and waste. Visits have already been made to primary classrooms in the Baldwin County Public Schools. And in addition, this April during Earth Week, the entire 145th GMC Corps of Cadets will be participating in our cleanup on April 20th. You will see them at various places in the city where they will be picking up litter and debris. We also have commitments from several student organizations at GCSU, and our partners in the Adopt a Road program will be part of that week, as well as Exchange Bank on Friday, April 26th, when they will be going out on Log Cabin Road and cleaning up a mile out there. We have a few other items planned for that week, and we would love to have participation from our city. What we would like to do is set up a time with Mr. Griffith to discuss how the city of Milledgeville could help us with the Adopt a Road and Street program in a similar fashion as the Baldwin County Commission. With your permission, Laura Thompson, Carol Lassiter, and myself would like to meet with Mr. Griffith and do a lot of Q&A. Today is a great first step, however. I encourage you all to take a closer look at the information sheet as well as the infographic that I've had our friends here from the Board of Directors pass out to you to see what KMBB and KGB can do. And you heard that right. That's Keep Georgia Beautiful. Laura and I tell people we are affiliated with the KGB. From support for an Adopt a Road program, volunteer expos where volunteers are trained and gathered to do cleanup days, and educational events in our local classrooms, K through 12 and college, we will help grow, enlist more support, and do our part in helping you, our community's leaders, keep this community safe and clean. Some say we can't, but as my grandmother always taught me and said, a can't never could, a won't never would, and a shouldn't probably never should. But KMBB certainly can, certainly will, and certainly should. You see, we know that our local leaders, such as yourselves, are very important in this fight, but we also know that we cannot expect you and you alone to solve the problem. You could hire crews to clean the highways and streets every day, only to ride along them within a week or a day or two and see them as littered as they once were, and sometimes even worse. We also understand that leaders like yourselves are balancing a lot of different things. As they say, you're juggling lots of balls in the air. So it's up to us as the citizenry to do our part to partner with you, and that's why we're here. While we encourage the enforcement of codes and the use of your positions as a bully pulpit to beat back this behavior, we also know that the community must be educated about what this problem is, how we can solve it, how it impacts them, and how everyone can help and do their part and make this issue much less venomous. And it doesn't take a king's ransom to do this. Again, thank you for your time today, and whatever you can do to support us will be much appreciated. We do plan to visit the Baldwin County Commission again later this month, and we would love the opportunity to come back here from time to time to update you on what we have been able to accomplish together, hopefully. We also would like to reach out to Mr. Denuser and Mr. Griffith to see if possibly at the first meeting in April we could get you all to declare April as Earth Month or KMBB Week. We also have support from our local tourism director, Rebecca Snyder, as well as the Milledgeville Baldwin County Board, and together we can help solve this problem. It does take a village, or in this case, a city. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I can answer.
Do I have any questions?
Thank you.
I did.
Great idea.
I live just off of Jefferson and see it all the time. And I could get out there daily. I thought about putting a trash can out there and a sign saying, "Please ring this." And I knew nobody would ever hit it, but I felt like at least it would all be in one place and I could get it up easier.
That is true.
We have it's not always people just throwing trash out the window. It's
Sure.
a lot of times that trash is not secured. I had a refrigerator box out beyond my property one day. Now that's a big piece of litter,
That is.
and had to cut it up and so on and so forth just to get it off of there. But there's a lot of different facets to trying to get this under control. Very proud of the effort.
We're grateful for your comments, sir, and we look forward to working with you. Really quickly, I'll tell you, Mr. Tobar said back during the Bud Light boycott, it was real out on Quarter Road. He said, because every time he went out and picked up Bud Light for a few months there, it was transferred to Yingling. Said they just simply transferred their trash,
That adopt the road is a good thing, because in my neighborhood for about, 6 or 7 years, we had different people. I went around and each one of them took a street, so nobody wasn't having to do it all. And we had a list, and they picked up a lot of it. It looked good too.
That's wonderful. And we hope to inspire more of that as we go along as well. I mean, you guys have trained resources. You're all over the place, so we've got to do our part. And that will encourage our neighbors and fellow citizens like, hey, if they're doing it, we can too. Goodwill is easy to spread, so we do hope that you all can use that as your positions as bully pulpits to help us move this forward. Okay. Any other questions you have?
I know one of the things that used to pride ourselves in hearing from other cities that in their travel, they always thought the Milledgeville was beautiful and clean. I'm sorry, I apologize. Trying to help my grandson get where he needs to go.
Hey, family's important. That's no apologies needed. We need to get him on an Adopt a Road program, right?
Exactly.
There you go.
He and the rest of the seniors. There
you
would be a
go.
good project for them.
That's perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
But they used to tell us all the time when we go to municipal association meetings that how beautiful and clean Milledgeville was, and they mentioned that. And I said just the other day as I was traveling through, I was like, ooh, I wonder if anybody says that now, because you cannot help but notice.
Yeah, she's still a beautiful city. She just needs a little scrub here.
Scrubbing,
from time to time. And you come in, I've had friends and neighbors say coming in where you see those lakes, coming into Milledgeville, it just takes your breath away. And they say as you get closer and closer into the downtown, it's gorgeous. And we just want to help you help keep it that way.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that information too, and look forward to seeing the results.
And I will be in communication with these three and other folks on their group to try to get that up and running. So we've got some areas that high traffic areas, and we want to make sure Public Works are out with them at the same time so that they have some safety with them. So some of those areas. So I look forward to working with them and bringing back an agreement to y'all and getting this process started.
Well, thank you, Mr. Griffith. So while you're talking, we'll continue on with your report.
I just need to cover just a few things that you'll be voting on tonight, and then I want to take some time to share some information with you in terms of a water system update. I'll talk a little bit about when that starts, my reason for that. But the two items that you have to vote on tonight, that are under new business, are pretty straightforward. First is Resolution R2403-13. In December, I believe it was, you passed Resolution R2403-54. And that was to accept the councilable GFA loan for the lead and copper removal program. GFA had a resolution that they wanted to use with specific wording, and so that's being brought to you tonight so that we could do that. Since they were giving us $450,000, I figured we could use their wording if that's what they wanted to do. So it's basically what ours said. It just includes the loan number and references some of the things in the signatory page on that. So once we get that done, we can get that information put back to Atlanta and look forward to receiving those funds. The other is even before Mr. Jarrett left, he had started the process with Georgia Power of converting street lights to LED. And all of those had been done for what they call Cobra head lights throughout the city. But at the time that conversion had been started and was going strong, they did not have LED conversion kits for the spotlights that are part of the street lights for the city of Milledgeville. They have those now. And the agreement that you have in front of you is to upgrade, I believe it's 62 lights to LED on North Columbia Street, basically from Lakeside to Pearl Drive, and then it skips a little space and then picks back up right around Log Cabin. So it's a net cost. There's no additional cost for that conversion. Obviously, the LED lights give more light. They don't use as much energy. They are SCADA controlled, so that Georgia Power can try and determine what an issue is with one if it's reported as out. So there's just a lot of advantages for that, and I would appreciate you all looking at that favorably tonight when it comes up, and I can answer any questions about either one of those when they come up for votes. If y'all will give me a minute, I'm actually going out to the podium because I got a lot spread out. Mr. Chambers is worried.
No, I'm not worried. I'm concerned. There's a difference.
You give him a microphone, and he may be here all night.
When the Speaker of the House had something to say, he could come down into the well. I'm certainly not the Speaker of the House, but I do have a couple things to share with y'all tonight that I want to do from here, just in terms of it being a little bit more comfortable area for me to speak rather than standing up. I don't speak very well sitting down. You all probably remember. If you don't, I can certainly share with you the water outage that we had in April of 2023 that was caused by failure of a motor that was attached to high service pump 3 at the water treatment plant. Unfortunately, that was the second issue we had in about 4 months, the first of which was caused by the sub-freezing temperatures in December of 2022. We couldn't do a whole lot about the weather. We just had to try to repair the breaks that we had based on that weather. But while it was not any fault of the city that the motor failed on high service pump 3 at the water treatment plant, there were some things that had we had them in place, we might have bought ourselves a little more time in terms of getting that motor pulled and rebuilt. One of the things that came out of that was a draft resolution that Mr. Reynolds put together. And he and I had a conversation about that, I think a couple of 3 days after he put it together. We decided, or I asked him, and he gave his approval to use that draft resolution as a way to couch information to deliver to water system customers almost immediately based on a meeting at Eggs and Issues and a call work session, but also as a way to share that information in the future. So since our agenda is a little bit light tonight, I wanted to take a few minutes to share some information with you that has happened. You have been a part of most of it. It's just kind of happened piecemeal. So I think it might be good for you all to hear it all at one time over the next 12 to 15 minutes. And then give you the opportunity to ask any questions about it. And what I have done, with Mr. Reynolds' permission, is this was working when I first started. There we go. Taken the resolution wording that he had in his draft and then shared the information with you from there. So the first thing Mr. Reynolds suggested in his draft resolution was that we would provide a detailed account of the most recent failure, which this was the April 2023 failure that he was speaking of here, including the location, cause, and duration of the outage. I gave you all that information pretty soon after it happened, but let me cover it again just very quickly. On April 24th of 2023, the motor attached to the high service pump number 3 at the Lamar Ham treatment plant failed. That is the largest high service pump we have. You see in the presentation that it will pump 4,500 gallons per minute or up to 6.5 million gallons per day. When that happened, high service pump number 2 was started. It has a lower capacity. At that point in time, it was 2,800 gallons per minute and 4.0 million gallons per day. We anticipated that pump and the water in tanks would provide the flow that we needed until a portable pump could arrive. Unfortunately, the portable pump was delayed and was about 2 days later getting here than we anticipated it would be. Levels of the tanks decreased. The high service pump number 2 couldn't keep up with demand, and many customers began to be without water beginning April 25th. On the evening, in the dark of April 25th, we did some emergency valve inserts that were completed to improve the efficiency. Rob, you hear about a day later, the portable pump got here and was installed. And Rob called me, I believe it was on the evening of April 26th, and he said, we're pumping about 6 million gallons a day with high service pump number 2 and the portable pump. And the portable pump was certainly not pumping to the extent that it could. So they got water flowing pretty quickly, but when you're without water for a day or two, it can seem like forever. And because the tanks filled up that evening, people had ample water. Beginning on April 28, we issued a boil water advisory actually the evening of April 27th as people began to get water, and that remained into effect until April 29th of 2023 when the samples came back clean. They give you some quick information about that motor. The high service pump number 3 and the failed motor was installed new in July of 2017. So when this occurred, it was not even 6 years old yet. The failed motor was repaired. It was reinstalled on May 2nd, 2023. And to cover the piece in Mr. Reynolds' language about the report being made to the public. This information was shared, as I mentioned, at the Chamber of Commerce Eggs and Issues breakfast on May 17th and at a call to council work session at noon, I believe it was, on May 18th of that year. So, why did the motor fail? Well, there are a number of things that we looked at. I'm not going to read everything that's in front of you. I'll make sure that you have a copy of this presentation in your box later in the week. But as I mentioned, it was less than 6 years old when it failed. The motor was attached to a variable frequency drive, and what that means is that is a piece of machinery that will determine how fast the motor needs to run in terms of the pumping capacity that is necessary to get the water. That is there purely to help extend the life of the motor, extend the life of the pump, and to prevent water hammers in the pump as the motor turns on and off. Instead of turning on or turning off, it speeds up or it slows down as it needs to. That motor was a closed mechanical system. There was nothing in there to maintain. It was inspected once a week along with the pump to check for vibration, to check for sounds that did not sound normal. And these folks that deal with these every day, they know what normal sounds like. So the motor really was maintained as much as it could be. So lack of maintenance was not the reason the motor failed. The pump to which the motor was attached, it's also inspected in the same manner, although I think there are a few things in there that could be serviced if necessary. And inspection of the motor and pump are part of an overall plant maintenance weekly inspection, and we have those inspection records. As a matter of fact, we had a open records request about a month ago to provide those maintenance inspection records, and we were able to provide those very quickly once Rob's staff got them together and got them back to Bo. So those maintenance checks were being done, and that information was readily available for the open records request. So here's the big question. Why did the motor on the high service pump number 3 fail? We actually had the information considered by Hartford Steam Boiler Inspection and Insurance. They did an investigation and they determined that the motor for the water plant pump suffered a high voltage surge. And as a result, the electrical breakdown occurred in the motor. So as they define it, it was an accident. It was a high voltage surge coming into the motor from somewhere, whether it came into the entire building, whether it just came into the motor. How it came in, there's really no way to make that determination. We just know that happened. That's one of the things you hope the variable frequency drive will help take care of, but it didn't, because it went straight to the motor as opposed to going through the variable frequency drive. So that's the reason it failed, best we can tell. The folks who rebuilt the motor did mention that there was a couple of places on some of the rotors that appeared that it probably had in fact been caused by high voltage surge too. So that's kind of what we've got to hang our hat on in terms of the reason it happened. Nothing in terms of the lack of maintenance from water treatment plant personnel. It was just a high voltage surge that caused it to happen. From there, Mr. Reynolds suggested that we might want to locate a backup pump for the water distribution plant. And we actually had one on site at that point in time. We had a portable pump. I know it doesn't mean anything to you. It didn't mean anything to me until Rob sent me the information, but we had a Godwin HL225M and all the necessary piping and fittings on the yard at the water treatment plant. That was what was actually connected to augment high service pump number 2. And then once we got high service pump number 3 back in service, we did not need to use that pump anymore. But you notice that we had a 9-month rental on it, and I'll tell you why that is in just a few minutes. We spent a little over $110,000 for the 9-month rental on that pump. We got some quotes to look at purchasing one. You can see that it was in excess of $240,000 to purchase one. Rob and I talked about it, and we had some concerns with the fact that even if we had that pump and it sat on the yard and wasn't used, it might not operate when we needed it. So basically we said, what can we do with that $130,000 that we've got left over from paying the 9-month rental on the pump if we had bought one for $240,000 to have as a backup pump? And what we decided we could do was we decided we could get all 3 pumps in the plant operating again. Mr. Reynolds suggested that we look at incorporating a 3rd pump into the water distribution plant. That was pretty easy to do because we already had it there. We just had to do some repair work and make some modifications to it. So we did that with high service pump number 1, and we replaced that entire pump and system. That took that pump from a 2,100 gallon per minute pump to a 2,500 gallon per minute pump. We put a new soft start on there, which is the variable frequency drive piece that I talked about earlier, a new motor, a new check valve, a new isolation valve, new power service to the starter, the whole shooting match. And that took a little over $105,000 to do. But that gave us basically at this point in time a tertiary pump at the water treatment plant for us to have. I'll go into how all of that works together in terms of multiple pumps in just a minute. Rob is in spite of myself, he's going to teach me something one of these days. So, but he's here to keep me honest tonight in case I run over something that I shouldn't. So from there, we looked at what we could do with high service pump number 2. It was the second oldest pump at the plant. It was rebuilt approximately 8 years ago. It has a pump capacity of 2,800 gallons per minute. We installed a new motor and variable frequency drive in 2022. So what we did was we put a new check valve and a new isolation valve into it earlier this year. So the total cost of what has been spent on the pump since 2022, not counting the pump, is around almost $63,000. So now we have, with what I'm sharing with you now, we have 2 pumps that are operational at the plant, the water treatment plant. And then from there, when the slide changes, we continued to use the high service pump number 3, which is the newest pump we have before we put the new high service pump number 1 in, and the largest pump that we have. As I mentioned already, it was installed, the motor and pump was installed new in 2017. It was a new pump, a new motor, a new variable frequency drive. I've already mentioned to you the capacity of that. When it was installed in 2017, it was a $565,000 turnkey job. And as we already know, the motor failed in 2023 and we had to have it rebuilt. The rebuild was approximately $36,000 when we had that done after the April outing. So here's what can happen now in our water treatment plant. High service pump number 1 can run alone, or it can run in conjunction with high service pump number 2. If it's running alone or it's running with high service pump number 2, it can pump anywhere from 3.6 million gallons per day to 7.6 million gallons per day. High service pump number 2 can run alone. It can also run in conjunction with high service pump number 1, or it can run in conjunction with high service pump number 3, but all 3 of them cannot run at the same time. But if high service pump number 2 is running alone, it can pump up to 4 million gallons per day. If it is working with high service pump number 1 or high service pump number 3, you can see it gets up to 10.5 million gallons per day, which is maximum capacity of what we can pump from the plant at this point in time. And then high service pump number 3, it can run alone or it can run in conjunction with high service pump number 2, and that's anywhere from 6.5 million gallons per day to 10.5 million gallons per day. So in less than a year, we have done what was necessary, provided all 3 pumps stay operational, which we anticipate they will because of the newness of them, although the motor that burned out was less than 6 years old. We have the capacity to be able to run them at least 2 pumps at one time at the water treatment plant now. And had we had that capacity in August, April of 2023, we would have had some additional time to wait on that portable pump to get here, and probably would not have had the outage that we had. So we have done what was necessary to take care of what caused that outage. I shared with some of you over the weekend as I was texting you about what was happening on South Wayne Street that Brooks mentioned, that had we not had this in place, we would have had another partial system failure Sunday with the problem that they were having finding the leak on South Wayne Street. As a matter of fact, Rob, Saturday night, y'all begun to see the increase at the plant. Anytime there's a major leak, they can actually see it at the plant sometimes before we get it reported to us, based on the fact that the plant is pumping more water than it typically would. Average capacity use is typically about 5.0 million gallons per day. And if it gets up and above that, then they know something's going on, and Rob gets Kevin on the phone, and they start talking about what that may possibly be. So that saved a part of our system Sunday, having the opportunity to have 2 pumps running at one time. And so it did what it was supposed to do and what we hoped it would do if that time came. From there, Mr. Reynolds' resolution asked about providing a water distribution system failure inventory over the last 3 years, and including a heat map of the impacted areas. That inventory is actually occurring with some of the work that Turnip Seed is doing on the water model that I'll talk about in just a few minutes. But what I thought might be helpful is for me to plot on a Google Earth map where we've had boil water advisories since 2020. And the reason I chose that is something to map, and I know that's real hard to see, is if a repair is made under pressure and the customers have not lost water pressure while that repair is being made, a boil water advisory is not necessary. So typically if you have a BWA, those folks have been without water probably at least 8 hours, maybe close to 12 hours. And I thought that would be a really good way to see where in our city the repairs had the most impact, or where the breaks had the most impact, to look at it from a negative sense. So I know that you can't see that very well, but the point is the failures are not occurring in the same place over and over and over, with the exception of, here lately, South Wayne Street and West Montgomery Street. We are dealing with West Montgomery Street. We will be dealing some more even tomorrow night with South Wayne Street, but we need to look at an overall repair and replacement on South Wayne Street, which I'll be talking about in just a few minutes. So if you all remember in 2016, when we had a major failure based on the line breaking on Walton Street that comes right off of the plant, Hal Wiedemann did an inventory at that point in time, and he basically brought information to y'all that said there's really nowhere in the city that more breaks are prevalent than other places, and we still see that as the case. The biggest area that you see on that map is down around Blandy Road. It's as big as it was because of the schools that were there, and the good thing about it is it was in December, so they were not in school. But I can give you this map in a little more detail if you'd like to see it. But basically everywhere you see some color on the map is where a boil water advisory has had to be issued since 2020. The good thing about that is, at least since I've been city manager, since June of 2019, I don't think we've ever had a BWA that lasted more than about 24 to 30 hours, have we, Rob? So one of the advantages we have is having the lab at the water treatment plant, so we can do our own samples. We can test our own samples. That enables us to rescind a BWA more quickly when the samples come back clean and test clean, and they almost always do, even after these major repairs have occurred. And I think that speaks well of the water that's coming out of the plant to start with. So from there, Mr. Reynolds suggested that we might want to analyze these problem areas, and that's exactly what we have Turnip Seed doing now. You all have heard that they are working on a water model for us. That's important for a number of reasons. It's important for us to still identify some places where there are water lines that maybe some older maps don't show. It's important for us to know where potential failure areas are, although that's very difficult to determine. It's important for us to know in terms of capital improvement projects, which is a part of that cost estimate that we have gotten in terms of the work on the water treatment plant and $1 million worth of capital improvement projects each year. But I want you to see the timeline in the Gantt chart on the water model. You can see they actually started in September of 23. They anticipate that they probably will be done by the end of this year. And you can see all of the components of that. I'll be happy to go into some more detail with that with you individually if you'd like. So feel free to give me a call if you have any questions on that. And then we talked about potential cost estimates to repair or replace the failing infrastructure. You all know that we have had a couple of call meetings about the cost of the water treatment plant renovations, as well as the $1 million annual capital improvement projects. From that, we determined the need to have some new water and sewer rates. Those will go into effect July 1 of 2024, and they were determined, as I mentioned, by the water treatment plant renovations and the annual capital projects. It'll be a 3-year phase-in, and we're working now on how to get that information out to the customers. I think I mentioned in the last meeting that I was talking to a Georgia College student who had some interest in doing an internship in marketing, and that's certainly the kind of person that we could use to try to help get this information out. Some other potential funding sources for that, we're obviously continuing to receive SPLOST funds that are currently being collected. We started receiving those funds after our service delivery strategy approval in 2020. We are pretty close to that SPLOST sunsetting. It will actually sunset at the end of this month. The voters voted to approve the extension of the current SPLOST that will start taking effect in April of 2024. We have not at this point in time spent any of the 2018 SPLOST. We have been putting that in a reserve account to, number one, make sure that we kept a track of what we were getting to make sure that the service delivery strategy agreement was being adhered to, but also because we knew that some of these larger water and sewer projects were coming along. We will be getting the proceeds from the 2024 SPLOST according to the agreement that you all signed with the county. We will actually be getting those proceeds monthly. So we will have those funds a little bit quicker to expend. Obviously, a month's worth of SPLOST will not do a major project, but we'll start receiving those funds more quickly. We're actually talking to the county now about giving them the ACH information on the accounts where they can just simply electronically transfer it as opposed to having to send us a check. We're doing that with T-SPLOST as well. We were awarded $1 million for a CDBG grant. That will be used for replacement of the system in the Milledgeville Estates neighborhood. You know, CDBG has a lot of requirements to it in terms of where that money can and cannot be spent. But we're excited to be able to get that neighborhood's system replaced. It's actually currently a private system that is not maintained very well. We have a lot of water loss in that system every day, and we're going to have the opportunity to go in and rebuild that system, and it will then be ours to maintain, and I'm happy that we're going to have that opportunity. We've talked about issuance of a bond for the water treatment plant. You all passed a public facilities authority, a resolution for some public facilities authority legislation. That is in the General Assembly now. The legal ad has been run on that. Everything is in Atlanta that's necessary for that to get approved, probably on the local consent calendar, and then wait on signature by the governor. So hopefully that Senator Williams is confident that will be done. We also engaged with Raymond James for advising. That was Tom Owen, who has come down and talked to us a couple of times. And then we are actually also reviewing potentially using some GFA funds. I initially did not have a lot of interest in the GFA funds because they were federal funds, and that typically adds about 5 to 10% to the administrative costs. The GFA funds that were added to the supplemental budget that the General Assembly passed a couple of weeks ago are actually state of Georgia funds, and they don't have the federal requirements attached to them. So we may look at doing a combination of those, but we'll certainly bring you recommendations for you all to decide when that time comes. Not done, y'all. Just some quick other information. We're doing the metering pilot program that you all are aware of. Actually, all of you are participants in that metering pilot program where they are cell meters where you can pull your account up and see what's going on with your water meter. I'm doing it, and I'm watching it every day, so I don't have to pay more money than I want to if there's a break. And that's a cool program, but if you think about it, if we ultimately convert all of our meters to meters of this type, then the potential to know where breaks occur more quickly can happen in terms of us being able to see what's happening with people's meters, whether they're watching them or not, or if they are watching them giving us information on that. We still have a congressionally directed spending application from Senator Warnock's office. I'll be perfectly honest with you, I don't have a whole lot of hope that's going to be funded because Congress keeps kicking the can down the road in terms of funding votes with continuing resolutions, but it's still there and it's still hanging on right now, so we'll see what happens. I'm actually going to put that same application in for 2025 congressionally directed spending requests as well. Engineering has been completed on West Montgomery Street, replacement of a water line and abandonment of another water main. If you remember, we sent that project out for bid twice, did not get any bids on it. We're currently working with a company called Gordian, who has subcontractors that work for them. They have sent us a price for that. There was some areas, quite frankly, in that price that Rob and I had a little bit of heartburn about. So we're having the engineering firm look at that bid to see if there are some things there that we might be able to negotiate with them on. Engineering has been completed on the North Wayne Street replacement. That has not yet been bid, but we have that ready to be bid. We have even talked about the possibility of rebidding both of those, or rebidding the West Montgomery Street along with North Wayne Street and do them like we do LMIG projects, putting two projects together. So maybe we'll have some more bid responses from there. Water main on South Wayne Street Bridge at the Piggly Wiggly. That bridge is being replaced by GDOT, and we have a water main to replace on that. If you remember, you all signed a resolution or approved a resolution where we accepted some utility assistance from GDOT, and that project will, at a maximum, cost us $720,000 when it's done, and GDOT will be picking up additional costs. SCADA system installation that you all approved about a year ago is approximately 50% complete. That's really important too, because we can see what's happening with pumps and those kinds of things in a remote means. We have the GFA loan that you all are approving the new resolution for tonight for lead and copper remediation. We also, Rob got a call just this week asking for some additional information. There may be an additional $3 million coming for that program. And that's going to be really important because we've got to pothole these pipes and see what's really lead once the inventory is complete. And then lastly, when we were dealing with the outage last April, State Representative Ken Vance contacted Ms. Mapp and asked for a $3.5 million project, and we sent him one, and so that is currently with him. And what that is actually a project to replace the pumps at the intake, at the river intake, that we'll probably need to be doing in the next 12 to 18 months. So he has that available to him. So with that, I'll take any questions that you have.
This pipe that just broke and we had the problem with over the weekend on South Wayne Street, have we got the money now to go ahead, you said, and replace it?
We do not have the money to replace it all, plus we've got to get some engineering done on it. We were trying real hard to wait until the bridge replacement was done before we had the engineering done on that, but I don't think we're going to be able to. That is a concrete main. Some areas of it are encased in concrete, and it's some major work. As a matter of fact, what they finished up Sunday night was just kind of a Band-Aid fix, and they are actually going to go back tomorrow night beginning at 6 o'clock. We're going to do it at night so that it doesn't impact GMC and the businesses on the street. They're going to go back in at 6 o'clock tomorrow night and do a complete repair on that. Fortunately, GDOT has given us an emergency GUPS number in order to be able to do that. But that's an area that we have problems with quite often, and it's also an area, I think I mentioned to you all in some information I sent you over the weekend, it's an area that has a myriad of pipes all over it. And some of them are on the map and some of them are not. So the water model piece is one of those. That's one of the areas that the water model piece will be extremely important for. So we have the money to make the repairs that we need to right now, but not a complete repair of replacing the main going all the way down the street. Well, we probably do have the money. We just don't have the engineering done on it yet to be able.
Well, when you get the engineering done, then will we be? I mean, if we just Band-Aid and we Band-Aid.
I think so, Ms. Walden. I hesitate to say absolutely because contracting costs have just been so crazy during COVID and since COVID, and I'm not real sure it's ever going to settle down. I mean, the main replacement on West Montgomery Street from Clark Street to Jackson Street and taking another main out of commission, they're replacing that with Rob with a 6-inch line on West Montgomery from Clark to Jackson.
No, what that is the.
Ah, okay.
So we ain't all.
And we'll be swapping them over to other service on the 10. I'm with you there. Okay. Came back at $365,000. So costs are just crazy, and I think they're probably going to continue to be. So I won't totally say yes yet, Ms. Walden, but I think we will.
I'll remind you.
Okay. I don't doubt that one bit. All right. That concludes my report. Yes.
Okay, we'll wait for you to come back around.
Take. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Griffith, for
Thank y'all for a little more time.
all of that. We'll now move to old business. Tonight we have a public hearing to consider, amending the Land Development Code to rezone parcels located at 436 and 438 West Walton Street. Because these parcels are side by side and part of the same overall project, we can conduct one public hearing on the rezoning, but we must adopt each ordinance separately. The procedure for conducting the hearing to amend the Land Development Code will be as follows. Once it has been determined that this public hearing has been properly posted and advertised, the clerk will read the proposed amendment to the Land Development Code. We will then hear a report from the building official, including the advisory decision of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Council will first hear from the applicant and anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the amendment. We will then hear from anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the amendment. If anyone speaks in opposition to the amendment, we will then give the applicant an opportunity for rebuttal, but the rebuttal must be limited to the points or issues raised by the opposition only. We would then give the opposition the opportunity to speak in rebuttal. They too must limit their comments to the points or issues raised. Please make sure that before you speak, you give your name and address for the record. Mr. Clerk, has this public hearing been properly posted and advertised?
It has been.
I will ask the clerk to read ordinance 2401-03 by caption.
An ordinance amending the ordinance passed and adopted on the 10th day of December 2002, known as the Land Development Code of the City of Milledgeville, Georgia. The ordinance grants property to be rezoned to CC and allows special use for a used car lot with 20 vehicles located at 436 East Walton Street.
Okay, I'll ask the clerk to read ordinance 2401-04 by caption.
This is an ordinance amending the ordinance passed and adopted on the 10th day of December 2002, known as the Land Development Code of the City of Milledgeville, Georgia. The ordinance grants property to be rezoned to CC and allows special use for a used car lot with 20 vehicles located at 438 East Walton Street.
Okay. We will now recognize the building official for a report.
Our new building.
Yes, hello, Scott.
Like you said, this is a rezoning for special use and a rezoning for two properties, to 436 and 438 East Walton Street. Like you said, they're adjoined. They're owned by Mr. James Simmons. He wants to rezone from OI to CC for a car lot, maximum of 20 cars. Planning and Zoning Commission met on February 5th and approved this unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone present who would like to speak in favor of this amendment? Is there anyone present who would like to speak in opposition to the amendment? Are there any questions or comments from council?
Ms. Shindle, we probably need to hear from the applicant.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yes.
Mr. Simmons, just even if you just state your name, we may have some questions for you.
James Simmons, property 436 East Walton Street, 438 East Walton Street. Yeah, I want to rezone that to a car lot. I want to retire from working on cars. Want something easy to do. I mean, I can do it, but my health ain't gonna let me.
Okay.
I had 3 types of cancer. I don't want to risk it no more. Need something easy.
Okay. Are there any questions from council?
I'm good. Pretty straightforward.
I do have a question. I do have a question because I understand that where you're talking about is on the side where Carver Elementary School used to be, right?
Yes.
So am I to understand that you run the mechanic shop that's across the street?
Right.
So just out of curiosity, since that is my district, once you stop fixing cars, because I do get a lot of calls about all those cars that are there at that location, and from some of the people who live in that area. Are you planning to kind of clear that side up?
I'm gonna move them.
Okay, yeah, because
I ain't gonna have that man like that.
And that's been a concern. So you're just only basically gonna have your car lot on the other side of that street, of Walton Street. So I noticed that we're using 2 lots, so that's 20 cars total. Am I correct? Okay. I want to make sure that, are you planning to put any type of buffer between your car lot and where the residences start?
Yes.
At the end of that street? I mean, we really need for you to do that so that, in anything that's going on over there, and then we don't want to have the situation. I know there are some trees that are there already. So I guess would that be something that we would have to do, Scott, to make a request that be done? I didn't read it anywhere in the information that we received, and I know that Ms. Graham used to tell us that if we want certain things to be done, we have to make those requests as part of the agreement.
That's correct.
So,
Just like the 20 cars for both of those lots.
Okay.
Only 20.
But with both of those lots. So how do I do that, Mr. Jordy?
You can make it part of the condition of the approval.
Okay.
You'll simply state what that condition is, then it can be part of this approval process.
Okay. Well, those are the only questions and comments that I had.
All right.
Anybody else?
Just
There is a resident
Right next
door.
Well, there are some residences. There's residences on both sides. So that was the concern. A lot of times people don't come out to meetings, but they will express their concerns by phone. So that was the concern, was whether or not he was going to clean up that area where he was working on cars, because you were doing cars and U-Haul trucks, and it was kind of full over there on that side, and I'm being nice.
More than kind of full.
It was more than kind of full there, so I'm being nice with that. So the concern from the residents were whether or not you were going to have that area clean, and then said because they didn't want it to look like a continuous flow of cars that haven't been moved in a long time, because you've got some cars there that haven't been moved in a long time. Because when I ride through there, when people call and when I ride through there just checking, I noticed that there are some cars that haven't been moved in a long time. So I'd like to see that area cleaned up.
And Ms. Shenholster, just for clarification, for this barrier, you're hoping for a vegetative barrier or fence, or what would you prefer to be condition?
I'm not sure if there's a fence. I think the school had a fence around it at one point in time. The Board of Education had a fence around that lot at one point in time, but I'm not sure if that was a condition of the sale, if that fence is still there. I hadn't noticed because it is grown up right in that area. It's still there. So the fence as well as some vegetation as a buffer.
So there is a fence that's existing there currently, and you plan to leave that in place?
Okay. Okay, this concludes the presentation of the evidence in this public hearing. You have heard ordinance O-2401-03 to rezone 436 East Walton Street. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
Move we approve, with the condition that the fencing remain in place as a buffer for the surrounding neighborhood residences.
Second.
I will ask the clerk to call the roll. Excuse me?
You put in the condition.
Okay.
Fence and buffer?
Fence and buffer.
Fence and buffer. Let the fence remain as a buffer, yes.
So, Mr. Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Mapp?
Aye.
Mr. Chambers?
Aye.
Ms. Walden?
Aye.
Ms. Shinholster?
Aye.
Dr. Lee?
The ordinance is adopted. You have heard ordinance O 2401-0404 to rezone 438 East Walton Street. Is there a motion to adopt?
Move we approve with the same condition as applied to the previous property.
Second. Okay, have a motion and second. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Mr. Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Mapp?
Aye.
Mr. Chambers?
Aye.
Ms. Walden?
Aye.
Ms. Shinholster?
Aye.
Dr. Lee?
Aye. Okay, this ordinance is adopted also. That concludes the old business, so we'll now move to new business. I will ask the clerk to read Resolution R 2403-13 by caption.
A resolution to restate Resolution R 2312-54 using the mandated wording as dictated by the Governmental Finance Authority that authorized the loan agreement with the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority to accept funds from the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund to remove the lead inventory from the water treatment and distribution system.
Okay, you have heard the resolution. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Mr. Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Mapp?
Aye.
Mr. Chambers?
Aye.
Ms. Walden?
Aye.
Ms. Shinholster?
Aye.
Dr. Lee?
The motion carries and the resolution is adopted. I will ask the clerk to read Resolution R 2403-14 by caption.
A resolution to authorize a lighting services agreement with Georgia Power Company to convert 62 existing streetlights along the North Columbia Street Highway 441 corridor to LED fixtures.
You have heard the resolution. Is there a motion to adopt?
Move we approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Mr. Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Mapp?
Aye.
Mr. Chambers?
Aye.
Ms. Walden?
Aye.
Ms. Shinholster?
Aye.
Dr. Lee?
The motion carries and the resolution is adopted. We don't have any alcohol license applications tonight. Is there a need to go into closed session?
No, ma'am.
This concludes the items on tonight's agenda. Does anyone on council have any comments or announcements?
I'm not on council. I just want to remind everybody I sent you the list of board appointments in my report. Please take a look at that. Remember, we have some positions we need to fill there.
Okay. I do have an announcement. Congratulations, so on and so forth. This is from Ms. Mapp from Lemuel B. Brown. He's the president of the Macon-Bibb Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Congratulations. It brings me immense joy to inform you that the Macon-Bibb SCLC has selected you for the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drum Major for Justice Award to recognize your exceptional contributions and dedication. The Drum Major for Justice Award is based upon Dr. King's Drum Major Instinct sermon delivered on February 4th, 1968. This award recognizes extraordinary individuals who go above and beyond to serve others but are seldom recognized for their work. We are pleased to present you with the Drum Major for Justice Award, which will be presented at our first annual Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Commemorative Award Luncheon on March 23rd, 2024 at 11 a.m. at New Fellowship Baptist Church in Macon, Georgia. I would like to congratulate and thank you again for everything that you have done. And on behalf of the mayor and council, we'd like to congratulate you, Ms. Matt.
Thank you.
On such an honorary. Miss Mapp, I do have to say this myself. She is immensely involved in community service work. She is all over the place helping everyone that she can, and I commend you also for your hard work.
I'll attest to the fact she is a drum major.
Yes, she is.
Here.
A leader. Are there any other comments? If not, may I hear a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second.
I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Mr. Reynolds,
Aye.
Miss Mapp,
Aye.
Chambers,
Aye.
Ms. Wilden,
Aye.
Ms. Shinholster,
Aye.
Lind.
Thank you.